Hi, and welcome back to the Prickly Pear Show.
Hello.
We have our special guest today, Limor Markman.
Welcome,
Hi,
Limor.
buddy.
Welcome. And of course, we bring back Mira Schwartzberg. How was your trip?
Oh my gosh, it's good to be back. It was fantastic. It's good and bad to be back. I wish I was back in the trip again, but it's good to be here with you.
You look
guys.
wonderful, all nice and tan,
Yeah.
while all us white people are sitting next to her.
Furman's got wonderful sun.
We have an amazing show for you today. We're going to be talking about finances, something I know nothing about. I am horrible with money. Hello, ladies.
Money.
Right? how do you picture money? I am horrible with money.
Got none of that.
Well, that's the thing. I want to learn. I want to learn about how to be able to invest. I know you also deal with real estate.
Yes.
We're going to be talking a little bit about that, but how to save money.
Teach me how to do that.
Yes, we have a lot of
Make
different
it
things.
and save it.
Jobs, maybe finding like a new job. Like today, like I hear that trade jobs bring a little bit more money. So if you could train yourself and do something that somebody needs, like plumbing, you can make a lot of money. I don't know. Whatever
If
you
it's right up your alley.
whatever you have to offer us. So so tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to the audience, so this way people know why they're tuning in today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. First of all, it's exciting to be here.
It is exciting.
I have always loved money, so it's something that's been with me for quite some time. But when I graduated from business school, I went to work in the banking industry, and so I spent over 12 years at some of Canada's biggest banks. And what I really learned is how customers make mistakes and how banks make money. And so I was also, super fascinated from that, both sides of the coin, no pun intended. And yeah. And so, from there, I just really started answering for questions for people on my team at work. Whenever it was like RSP season, we'd all get in a boardroom and I'd explain how it works, and it kind of just blossomed naturally, if you will. And then about 5 years ago, I had this itch where I'm like, okay, I need to learn about real estate. I want to understand. I know some of the investing stuff, but everyone says, real estate is the be all and end all. And so I was like, I gotta learn.
And is it?
I still believe it is. I mean, okay. I'm biased now because it's a big part of my world, but I found myself in a 3-day real estate investing seminar, and I know those seminars have this scammy thing about them, but I happened to be sitting at the right one, and I sat there for 3 days, literally with my jaw on the ground, being like, how has nobody taught this to me?
Really?
So,
okay, I want to know what that is.
Yeah, so that
Please teach us
weekend,
today.
so that weekend I actually jumped in. I signed up for every single class that they offered, but a big financial investment board, and started investing in real estate very heavily, a lot of different strategies. And all I really planned to do was have more options, so that when I have kids, maybe I'll retire early.
So you just wanted a diverse portfolio.
I just wanted to have more money and more choices, really, because that's what money is. Money is choices, as far as I'm concerned.
Freedom to do things.
Yeah, I think of it as life's greatest enabler. I know you were kind of saying before.
Yeah.
I hate, not everyone loves money.
I don't like money. I like the idea of not having it, just getting things for free and just walking through the day. Maybe I'm a hippie, in my ideas.
In 2018, I don't know that that's how things work.
No, it doesn't. But again, this is why I'm doing so great in life, right?
Well, you're doing awesome. But I'll give you an example. My grandmother, getting a little bit older, she's in South Africa. I took off a full month in December. I went to spend a month with her.
That's
right.
incredible.
And
to be able to do that,
so
you
that's
need to have the means.
You need to be able to have the means to do that. You're not working for that period of time.
Right.
I mean, I had my little laptop, but I almost did no work. But the point is that money allows you to have a lot of choices. So when I found out about real estate, I was like, okay, I want more choices.
Right.
And I hadn't planned it at the time, but within 2.5 years of starting my real estate journey, I was able to leave my corporate job with real estate funding my life. So
I love that.
now I chase my dream and my passion of helping people, particularly women, although men as well, and we can talk about that, be what I like to call financially fabulous.
I like that term.
Yeah, so that's my world in a nutshell.
Okay, so bring me into this world, because again, I am very far and in between. I'm not. How do I say this? I have an office, so clearly I have to make money to be able to pay for it.
Right, there you go.
I have car, I have bills, I have things. So I know, and I work really hard to get the money.
Yes.
The problem is I don't really chase money. I chase the job. I still believe in the looking for that passion as opposed to just looking for the work. If I want a construction work, if I'm a big guy, I can lift, I can make a lot of money, and then maybe one day run a construction company, but I'm not interested in it. And I don't know if it's the money that I'm not interested in.
Where your heart is.
Right, and the thing is, the things that I love to do, unfortunately don't bring in a lot of money. I deal also with kids, so every time like a parent goes, Ron, can you like, you know,
But
give it
it's
to me
not
for
a fact.
$10 less, you know, 50, even though I know, hey, I'm below market and like I'm trying my best, I'll say yes, not a problem, because I don't see money as,
Well, that's the thing. Nobody should be chasing money for the sake of money. Like, oh, I want to have X amount of dollars in my bank account. That's not a goal that anybody should have in isolation.
right.
Unless you have an intention or a purpose around either how you want to live your life. Like, imagine that you are investing in real estate and you had passive income. So every month your tenants pay the rent, you pay the mortgage, and you got money left over. Then you don't have to do a typical JOB, and you can spend your life doing all the things that make no money.
Well, I get the idea
Right.
of investment, like that I understand,
Right.
but I'm saying like getting the money for investment, like, you know, having that extra dough. Like I always feel like whenever I make extra money, somehow the world, you know, works one on me and my car explodes. You know,
Oh,
my
we
dog
gotta
is
work
sick.
on your karma.
You know, no, but
So
that's the
hearing,
thing.
I'm hearing two things, guys. First, ShaRon is saying, do you have to chase money in order to be able to do what you love? So is money and passion something that we can combine? I want to talk about that.
100%.
Right, and another thing that you mentioned that I think is really interesting is you said you don't necessarily have to have a figure in mind in isolation, and I agree. However, I'd like to say that having that figure in mind is so crucial, at least for me, understanding what my lifestyle costs are, to be able to understand what is the level that I'm aiming for to be able to afford the lifestyle that I want.
I agree on that one as well. Let me
So that's
clarify.
getting more technical.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
how much
getting
does it
more
cost for me to live the way I do now?
for sure. And
Da-da-da-da-da,
you
break it
need
down,
to
and then
know
you
what
have to-
those dollars
You
and
do.
cents
You really
are.
need to get real with the money. Like with the
You
numbers.
absolutely do. But what I meant by that is, if your entire dream or your aspiration is to have a certain dollar amount,
Of course.
that's an empty aspiration.
Absolutely.
And that's what I meant.
So you need to
Oh,
have
of
a
course.
goal, but for you, maybe
Yeah.
the goal is the money, because maybe
The goal should never be the
No,
money.
but maybe-
What's
maybe-
the money going to do?
Never. It's
Just-
not the goal is the money. For me, goal is freedom of time, family, travel, passion, all of the other things.
Okay.
But I'm very well aware of what it costs me, so I know per month or per year, this is what I need to make to be able to sustain this lifestyle. So one does not necessarily conflict with the other. It's not
What happens
every-
if your lifestyle changes, though?
you adapt? It's called flexibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies, I know nothing about
We can do the splits later on if you want to talk about flexibility. But those are all really interesting subjects. So you said, well, I'm a passion guy, I'm all heart, I don't chase the money. But can you be all heart and still be financially savvy?
Absolutely.
Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. Well, I think
Whoa.
Oh.
I'm ready. I'm all ears. All right.
well, and I mean, I think it comes down to, first of all, I mean, think about it. We all go to school and then we have to figure out what we're going to do with our lives.
Right.
Right? And so, you know, there's a lot of times people have a disconnect where I've got a job that I do by day that I don't like it, and then in the evening, then I do the thing that I love.
That was me so many years, well, before I quit my corporate, like you said. Before we did
Totally.
the transition to being self-employed entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call it.
And
We
it-
were in that cubicle stuck, like, this is what I do, but this is my passion. This is where I work, but this is what I would like to do with my time.
And I see a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I think as a starting point, and you know, if you've got the skills for your corporate job or whatever it is that's generating that income for you, I mean, be grateful that you have that awesome job, but then how do you start to take the thing that you're really passionate about and start to make money off of that? So I'll cut back to that in 1 second, but you know, one of the things that is the most important principle for me, and I wish I'd started even earlier, is understanding that it's important to have multiple streams of income. So
Thank you, diverse.
only having one employer who could lay you off tomorrow is no good for anybody.
That's,
Right?
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
and-
Learn
and
the hard way.
security in that.
Yeah, and then also thinking about, okay, if there's something that I love, how do I turn it into making money? So, you know, if you love shooting pictures, can you sell them on an Etsy store, or like photo stocks? And if you love working out, well, can you be the person who teaches this spin class?
So I think that's where the biggest disconnect is for a lot of creative people, is they have a passion or the skill or the knowledge or the talent, but they don't know how to turn it into income. So they're really great speakers, or they're wonderful with people, or they're great, I don't know, masseuses, or like facial, anything that you would like to do. The question is, how do I turn it into, how do I become Instagram savvy or social media savvy, or how do I turn into a lot of these friends into clients? That's where the disconnect is, I'm seeing.
Well, and I think, you know, first of all, the first point of connection is even knowing that you can take your skill and do that. So, you know, obviously we all are where we are. We want to be somewhere else, and you got to do a lot of learning. Like, I wanted to learn about real estate, you know, that first weekend, I spent $20,000 on classes. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to do that.
Okay.
I'm really not.
By the way, right now, I took the subway and I saw, and actually I see it online too, where Sylvester Stallone is coming. Like
So I'm seeing that everywhere.
Yeah, like you're seeing it, right?
Everywhere.
Well, because his face is like in the front, right? And you get to see. But there's a lot of people that are coming down.
Yeah.
And they're all going to be talking about real estate, like
Yep.
how to
So
invest.
I'll be there that day. Actually, I'm going to the Wealth
Can
Expo.
we be your VIP guest?
Sure, come beside me.
Fantastic.
You know, the one thing that I would say is if there's no shortage of places to learn, it's about you deciding what it is that you want to learn, and are you going to invest in yourself, and is it the right training and program for you? So I mean, in the instance where you said, you know, whatever it is you love to do, you want to be on Instagram, you know, spend a little time in the evening or the weekend. You know, there's lots of little free classes if you find that you're kind of getting started and you're ready to take it to another level. Like it requires a little bit of investment, but like we want to become
so you have
better
to be a
versions of
doer and
ourselves.
a hustler.
But that's the thing, you got to have the investment, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So do you recommend, let's just say I have an amazing idea for a product, or I have an amazing idea for a business. Do I need to stop my life for next year, go work, make the money, and then be able to invest in myself?
Well,
Or are there other avenues?
I would say that it's a little bit more smooth, right? It's
Okay.
not like, okay, I only do this by day, I save enough money, I quit my job, I jump off a cliff, and I try something else.
Some people
you know?
do that, but most people can't. Most
Some
people
people-
have things going, like
Yeah,
bills
I
to
mean,
pay, children to feed,
but that's
mortgages
it,
to pay.
right?
So they transition slowly from what I see.
Transition slowly, but it's also, it doesn't have to be one or the other. If your day job has awesome benefits and you know you've been there a long time, you know there's no reason why you can't hang on to that and then make some extra money on the side from something.
And I
that you
see that
love.
a lot. I see a lot of people in the creative field, like professional photographers, doing that by night or by weekend, and then by day they do regular.
Totally. I was at a wedding not long ago,
Mhm.
and every single person who was, you know, the DJ, the popcorn man, there were artists, you know, drawing the cartoons.
They're hustlers because they have corporate jobs as well.
Well, I
most
talked
of
to
them.
all of them because I'm always like wanting what people are up to, and they all
Right.
had full-time corporate jobs
That's
that had
interesting.
nothing to do with what they're doing there.
Right, but what they're doing there is that their business, or are they working for somebody else?
No, it's their own business.
Oh, this is their own business.
Yeah, on the side, right? So they do have
Gotcha.
a day job belonging to someone else,
Right.
or working for someone else.
See, I don't mind having that job, like the day job,
Yeah.
where I go out and like, you know, like I worked at a youth center or whatever it is. I, you know,
And then you
whatever-
can have
whatever
your thing on the weekend. or
right.
in
I
the
don't, I don't,
evenings.
I don't mind that. But the problem is, it's when you're working at those places, you know, especially the passion places. It takes more than your 40 hours a week. Like you're a lot more
Oftentimes that's
invested. Yeah, and then you're not 100% committed to anything you're doing after school. It's just, I don't know. It becomes.
I think it's a little bit of a mindset and a little bit of a choice. I mean, you know, I really wanted to do real estate. I saw it as the next avenue. I was probably working about 10 hours a week outside of my corporate job that was not a 9 to 5. So yeah, I was hustling. I worked really hard, but I
You
was
do have to
excited.
sacrifice some of the nights.
But
Instead of going out, you'd be sitting
If
there
you
doing
think of it as a
research.
sacrifice, I saw it as like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this future I'm creating,
Yeah.
where I am financially free. I have all the choices. You know, I didn't think that my grandmother would be not as well as she is, but gosh, to be in a place where I could take a month, you know, all I knew is I wanted more choices for my life, and I think, you know, if you can envision a better future for yourself, it's probably going to include a little bit more money, and
Yeah.
you know, hopefully you get to the tipping point, whether it's, you know, you're making money from your passion project or you're doing something like real estate, not because you love real estate, like who really likes buildings? Not really that exciting, but it enables you to live the life.
But there's an
you
exciting
want.
part to it
How
as
about
well.
sales? Yeah,
Yeah, like
sales, dealing with people.
The thrill of
Yeah.
being able to get somebody that house that they want, their dream house. Like
I was
setting
trying
them
to.
up
I
with
was
the
trying to do
perfect-
real estate, as you could see, but I clearly, I decided that I remember even the day, like I was coming after my test. I was driving on Yonge Street, and I saw billboards of like these two Asians kind of doing one of these, like buy a house from us, and I was like, oh my god, that's gonna be me. Like my face has to be like on some billboard selling a house.
It
I'm
didn't-
like,
it didn't click
and I'm
with
like, there is no way I'm doing this. Like,
Why?
You
there
were
is
trying
no
to be
way.
a realtor, or what were you trying to be?
Yeah, I was thinking.
You actually passed the test.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm gonna go, and I'm like gonna be like, no, it was just not.
Well,
Not for me.
I'm not a realtor. Just
Yeah.
just investing.
Right, but I meant like in that world, and I want to learn more about it. I love education, I love learning, but I just find myself afraid. I can't really explain it to you. It's like almost as if I have fear of money.
You know, fear is a
Okay.
big thing for preventing people from getting what they want in life in
Yeah.
general. For me too, it's been fear. That's pretty much been the blockage from being able to break through and having that incredible rise. But 2 points that I'm kind of observing your conversation from the side, and I'm thinking, I think it's 100% true. If you ask anyone, do you want more options in life? I don't think anyone's going to say no. I'm happy where I am, and I just don't want any growth. Most people are going to say yes, I would like more options, or yes, I'd like more time, or yes, I'd like more of anything.
More vacation.
And if you want more of anything, you have to learn, you've got to grow, you got to develop, you got to work on yourself. I mean, even it's as simple as like if you're going to read books, you know, it's not necessarily about putting a whole lot of money, but hopefully as people we're learning and growing.
Learning and growing is a big passion of mine, but let's just be real for a second. A lot of people are watching and asking themselves, okay, fine, reading books, audiobooks, I can do that, but tachlis, as we say in Hebrew, like to the point, where does one start if they have no money to invest, or they're maxed out on their visa, or they don't have a huge line of credit? How do you go about investing in real estate? It's expensive.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that I want to sort of dissect here. And that, you know, real estate is something that I think is a phenomenal avenue, but, you know, the latest stat I've seen is less than 5% of Canadians own investment property.
Interesting fact, okay.
So, you know, not to say that it isn't attainable for everybody. We should all be aspiring, and actually when I teach real estate investing across Canada, which I do in major cities, one of the ways that I teach is that you don't use your own money. So, you know, if I have $1 million sitting in my pocket today, I could buy 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 properties, depending on where they are in the country, but then I'm totally maxed out, right? Whereas if I start to work with what we call joint venture partners, so if, you know, you can qualify for a mortgage and you've got enough for a down payment, but I'm the one with the skills on how to put together the deals, well, I might put a deal together in, I don't know, Kitchener-Waterloo, and you know, you're on the mortgage and we are splitting the profit, and so I'm not actually using my own money. So for
most people are not aware of these types of ventures.
But why would she want to? Why wouldn't she want to partner with you? Why couldn't she just like meet a mortgage broker who can maybe give her some suggestions?
No, it's a really good question.
Okay.
So, first of all, today, I don't know, but let's just throw it out. If we're going to do, or you're going to consider real estate, how much do you know about managing real estate, what to buy?
Me personally, so
Yeah.
I can share with you that about a year and a half ago, we purchased our first home, our first real estate. Thank you very much. It was not the easiest process in the world, and I assume that we were very lucky to get in before certain laws were changed and certain restrictions were applied. Now it's a lot more difficult for people to invest, being first-time buyers.
I want to come back to first-time home buyers.
Yeah,
but
please
after
do,
this,
because
yes.
there's a lot of fear about that, because the government has seen an influx of prices and they're trying to pull the market. As you know, mortgage prices have been increasing. Like, I'm actually coming up for renewal in 3 months, and we're kind of freaking out a little bit because our mortgage is going to be
a lot more expensive.
$300 more per month. Now, am I making $300 more per month right now? No, I'm going to have to do that in order to maintain my lifestyle. So either my lifestyle suffers, or I'm going to have to get that $300 every month extra just to be able to pay my mortgage. So being able to be a first-time home buyer, I was like, oh my gosh, we got in, thank you God. But what about those people who can't get the mortgage right now? They might not qualify for a mortgage based on their income. They might not have enough of down payment. They might not have the 20% that's required to buy a house. Houses nowadays are what, 3, 4, 5, 600,000?
Depending on where you are.
Depending on where you are. In Toronto, 8 and up, right?
Oh, for sure. So your experience enough is that you've bought your first home, which is awesome, and you know we're going to talk about some of the nuances associated with that. But you know, you're and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the average person who maybe owns their own home isn't necessarily comfortable making a decision on what house and what location, especially if we're going to be outside of your city, because that's where there maybe are more affordable prices. And if you and I get together and I say, listen, Mira, you qualify for the mortgage, you put down some of the down payment, and I'm going to get us a property, I'm going to manage everything start to finish, you have nothing to worry about, and I am going to show you the returns that I could get you, that in many instances is far more favorable than what you're doing in your under your mattress, in your savings account, even in your mutual funds. And it's backed by an asset, so you know the stock market goes up and down, but you know real estate is a hard asset. You know, I'm not putting you on the spot right now, but generally, if I brought you an opportunity that said, hey, I can give you, you know, even 8% return, you qualify for the mortgage, I'll manage everything start to finish, you know, is that something you're interested in?
Yeah, most people would say, give me the 8% versus the 0 that I'm getting at the bank, or the 0.5 or the 1.
Perfect. Back to your question, why would you work with me is because I'm the expert, I've got the skills, I've got the contacts, I've got the networks, I can evaluate the deal, and I'm going to take care of everything. And what she's going to benefit from is being in the real estate market and making stronger returns than she could anyway.
But you're saying evaluate the deal. Let's take it back a bit. Again, I'm not as knowledgeable as you two ladies, and that's why I'm allowed to speak. I'm a rookie, so if I'm saying something wrong, I apologize. Yeah. I do not own a house. But I would say, why don't I just hire a real estate agent who I trust, have that relationship with him. He's going to help me find the right place. I give him 1%, and any profit that I make,
because it comes with a whole slew of responsibilities of having to learn how to manage property.
That's what the real estate guy is for. Because
the real estate guy
is for the transaction.
Their job, exactly, their transaction. They help you buy, they help you sell. That's
right.
where
they're out. They're not managing your property on a month.
But when you're saying managing a property,
so you've got a tenant. Let's say they lock themselves out. The toilet breaks. There's issues associated with it. There's something going on. Somebody has to be able to step in and take care of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a landlord. So, I own the property, so I take care of it.
And if the property is now 2 hours or an hour and a half out of your city so that you can actually afford it, because, we're struggling to just even afford one property in Toronto.
Our house is an hour away from here in Alliston.
So we own a cottage now as a family, in Furman Falls, by the way, beautiful spot if anybody wants to rent. And we manage it, we kind of we deal with Airbnb, and we just run the show. And we make all the money as opposed to giving that half to somebody else.
I understand that, and this would be my way of thinking too, because I do have some experience managing my parents' properties in the past. Yeah. But most people, like you said, don't want the headache of having to manage a property.
But when you say manage a property, if you're in Toronto,
there's a lot that's required to take care of the property. Now, I'm going to take this one step further.
If somebody is I just want to ask this question because I want to see if you take care of the real issue, which which I'm worried about. So let's just say right now I have a tenant that lives in my place and he hasn't paid me rent, and now I want to be able to get paid, and I can't kick him out. He's like, I'm not coming out. So how do you get him out?
Okay, so first of all, that's like a really tiny
side
tangent question. Yes, but that's why. So a couple things. As a landlord, you have to know your rights. You have to understand the Landlord Tenancy Act. You have to understand, did you write the proper lease? Did you put the proper agreements in there in place? You have to be able to.
Mentioning that we actually had that same situation a few years ago, so I'm quite familiar.
It happened with many people that I know.
No, it definitely happens. So that's where you need to be savvy. So, Mira, she's living her great life. She's traveling off to Peru, and this is what's happening with the tenant, let's say. Is that something you want to manage?
No, I don't want to be managed. Well, I could manage it if I had somebody on the ground and I could delegate to, but most people would prefer to have somebody.
Well, so that's exactly my point. So for me, if I'm the real estate professional, the investor, and I am accustomed to managing this type of stuff, and I take care of this type of stuff, and I say to her, listen, I'm going to get you, just hypothetically saying 8% when you're used to getting 3 or 4, then she's already getting more money than before, and she's getting into the market, and and if you don't want to invest with me, that's absolutely fine.
No.
I think
I'm just saying there's a lot of people who do it, and I'm going to take it one step further just to say that the majority of investing that I do is not even a buy a house and rent it out, and I mean this with all the love in my heart, but that's kind of the simplest way to do it. So I'll give you an example. One of the strategies that I do is called a rent to own. So I work with a family whose credit is slightly bruised and they can't qualify for the mortgage.
There's a lot of those on the outskirts of Toronto.
Okay.
And my friends have invested in that.
So I have them, choose a house that they want to own in the future. So I do all the vetting up front together with my team and understand that this family is going to qualify. And I have them essentially select the home, and they give me what's called the non-refundable option consideration. So like the equivalent of a deposit that I give back to them only when they buy the house in the future. Okay, so it's usually around.
So in the meantime, they're renting it.
So they're renting it for 3 years while I'm helping them qualify for their mortgage and fix their credit.
Their credit.
What do you do with that money that they just gave you?
So I'm holding it.
You're holding. You're not investing their money.
You could do whatever you want.
Well, so what I would actually do is I'd use it towards the initial down payment, so I have to put less money in.
Okay.
So
but now we're getting super
goes back to the principle of don't use your own money.
Back to that principle. But but if I'm just kind of keeping this at sort of a 50-foot level. essentially, when I do a deal like that, I have a lot more security. They're homeowners in training because they've given me a big deposit up front. You know, they're taking care of all the maintenance.
Than having tenants.
You know, we've usually got the purchase agreement price of what they're going to buy it out in a couple of years. And so it's a far more sophisticated way to invest in real estate. The cash flow, so the money you make every month, is a lot higher, and the risk is a lot lower.
I really love that. So can I just summarize what we talked about?
Do it.
So we transition from talking about, to begin with, how do you get into investing if you have not a lot of money to invest, or if you may not qualify, or you qualify but you don't know anything about the real estate market. So he said joint venture?
Yes.
Joint venture.
With somebody who knows.
With somebody who knows. And then we had a little bit of a debate. ShaRon was like, why would I give any percentage if I can manage the property? And I said, well, for peace of mind, I would also keep most of the percentage because I know how to manage properties. A lot of people don't and don't have the time.
Right.
So you could do either or. But I think the next level that you went into is the more sophisticated way of, as you explained, investing in real estate, which would be lease to own. And talk about that.
Totally.
That's so interesting.
There's just so many different ways to do it. So in the rent to own, or it's called a lease option, there's lots of interchangeable names. But with a program like that, for you as the investor, you have way less risk.
Or you're talking from an investor's perspective, not from a perspective of somebody who wants to actually purchase a house and then they start leasing it first.
Yeah, so I'm not talking about the individual, but we're talking about making money here. If we're all the sophisticated investors here, right? We're the ones who are going to be making money. Making money, right? If we're doing a strategy like that, the return on our dollars is so much stronger. You know, so that
give me an example, one versus the other. I'm a house owner and I'm leasing it out to tenants.
Yeah, so let's say you're making, even call it $300 cash flow every month, right? In a regular rental situation.
That's a good situation. Okay. Some situations they just, you break even.
There's plenty where you don't, but I'm just saying, let's say it's $300, and then all of a sudden there's an issue, and I don't know, the roof is leaking. Well, thousands of dollars. You might wipe out your entire cash flow from the whole year just with that one thing. Now, with the rent to own, I have them take care of the property because they're going to own it in the future. So as part of the agreement is they're responsible for all of the maintenance as well, because they're essentially have the privilege of renting a house now that they're going to own in the future. The rent's typically a little bit higher as well. So if I go back to the investor side, your return is a lot stronger. There's less factors that can come in and interfere with your cash flow, but it's also a more complicated deal to put together. So again, I circle back to, why would Mira invest with me? Mira's a super smart girl, and maybe she knows about rent-to-owns, maybe she's heard of them, but she probably hasn't put the contracts together. She probably hasn't run through the whole program.
Never, not that, yeah.
And so if I come to you and say, hey, I've got this awesome guy, Ron here, who wants to own his first home, but his credit is a little bit bruised because he got mad at Rogers and didn't pay his cell phone bill.
Sons of bitches.
So he needs a little
story of my life.
He needs a little bit of help correcting his credit over the next few years.
But if you join forces,
we all join forces.
Okay.
You move in.
But now I want to sell the house. So let's just say
the lease to own.
I bought it 3 years, right? You said I bought the place.
Wait, by the way, just to correct, when you do a lease to own and you're the investor, does the mortgage go in your name? Because they're leasing it from you, right? So the house mortgage.
So yes, it will be the owners. Essentially, the investors will be the owners, and you're renting it until your credit is repaired, and you then can in fact step in and buy the property from the investors.
Okay, so now I bought the property from the investors.
Yeah, and then now you're a homeowner and.
And our deal, okay, happy ever after. Okay, I thought maybe I owe you some percentages.
You owe me nothing.
I owe you nothing. Okay.
No, essentially.
I like not owing anybody.
No, it's a way to I really view it as a way to help people.
Right.
Because it's tough. Mortgages are hard.
It really is.
And think about it. There's so many instances. Maybe you go through. Maybe you're relatively new to the country. You don't have good credit. We all know people who are new to the country.
Gosh, most of our city is made
But that's it, right?
So what do you call yourself? I'm an investor. Investor. So you're an investor, but you're investing my money.
Well, and then you're an investor too.
Then I'm an investor. Gotcha.
We're
so you take
investors.
my money and you invest it. Okay, interesting.
She also puts some of her money. Sometimes it's a joint.
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I put none of my own money.
Okay, so now
Which is great,
because
ideal scenario.
Yeah.
So
you just need to learn how to manage other people's money, Ron.
Yeah.
Make golden.
Yeah, I need to manage it. Not wanting to manage anybody's money.
Can't even manage
I take money. I'm like, oh, vacation. There you go.
But
I
think
deserve
about it this way. Sometimes people get, okay, and let's go to this topic because we got really technical and people are like, well, I just want to make money. So, okay, so forget about the technicality of sophisticated investments. We could dedicate a whole episode talking about the technicalities of how to get into the market and leads to own. It's very interesting. But from like a standpoint of a simple person who just wants to have more options, going back to that more options lifestyle and motto, how do you empower people to start? Let's just say they don't have anything to invest. They don't have the good credit, or they don't have those options now because they're working really hard to pay their bills, to stay afloat. A lot of my friends.
Well, we all got to start by just improving our financial situation. We're not even worrying about investing in anything massive, you know, especially if you're in your 20s and your 30s, you know, maybe you had some student debt that you were dealing with. We got to start with getting rid of the debt that we have on our credit cards. You know, it's baby steps, right?
Okay, talk to us about the first step.
The first step, I mean, I would say the absolute first step is take a look at where you're at. Because most people have their head in the sand.
They're just like,
they're like, oh shit, those bills. They're throwing them into, I don't know, some random drawer. I would hate to see what happens if I open those closet doors over there.
You'll see kids' books. I don't know what that's about.
No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, so many folks are just not comfortable with where they are, so they don't even really know, right? Oh, I've got, you know,
so
I need to make a purchase.
Educating yourself on your situation.
Yeah, everybody needs to take a look and say, you know what, maybe my financial picture is not as rosy as I want it to be, but at least if I know where I stand, then you can start to take steps. Because if you don't know how much debt you owe and which credit card has the highest interest rate, I mean, you're just drowning. But when you know where you stand, you can start to make a plan, and it can actually feel really empowering to say, okay, I owe $5,000. This is the highest interest rate. Every month when I make a little extra money, or I'm going to save a little bit more, I'm going to bring my lunch or have a potluck with my friends. We'll have a movie night instead of going out on the town. I'm going to take that little bit of extra money and I'm going to pay that off. And feeling like you accomplished anything will continue to stir your confidence. Totally.
I want to share something personal, something that I learned from experience. I've been building my credit for many years to be able to have good credit. So if you don't have a lot of money, at least have good credit, like one of the other, right? But so in building the good credit, I learned that by asking questions from different banks and comparing different options, you only win. So I'll give you an example. There was a Visa card that I had that was, you know, most Visa cards are what, 22%, 24%, something, right? I found out from CIBC that they had an 11% Visa. And then later on, I was speaking with somebody at TD, and I said, well, what are your options right now? Or I got some promotion based on my credit level. And they said, well, you can have a Visa for 7%. So I found out that there's a term where you can transfer balance from one card to another to save percentage.
And often you'll get a promotion.
And this was like an epiphany for me. I'm like, what? I don't have to pay 11%. I can only pay this. So it's like a 3%
And
difference.
a lot of times, so what happened is the banks are all vying for your business. So you've got, you know, money that you owe with, I don't know, Scotiabank. And then you get a promotion from RBC. And I'm just totally making this up. It could be any bank. But, you know, 0% or 1% for 6 months.
That's exactly what I did.
And you
0%
can transfer
for
it
6
over.
months, and I'm working hard to pay that off. And in 6 months, I'm saving a lot of money.
It makes a big difference.
It does.
Now, the one thing just that I encourage people to do is read the fine print, and you can call in and say what other fees, because sometimes there's a flat fee for making the transfer. So sometimes it'll be like 1% of the full balance you owe up front. Like,
or sometimes they will tell you in small print that if you are late on one of the payments, then you
go
get
back to
the 24%. So if you're one time that you're late, you're like, shoot, I forgot, I didn't put my. So what I do to avoid those is I set it up on automatic, and that means what?
Smart girl.
Well, I've learned. Listen, I'm not 20 anymore. I used to have those rookie mistakes where I just forget one bill and this, and it affects your credit so badly, plummets you, and you're thinking, how did I get here? Is it my Rogers bill, or did I forget once? If you're a forgetful person like myself, which I can be, put it on your calendar, put it on auto mode, so the minimum payment comes off of your account all the time and you're never late.
Absolutely.
It's a great way to build your credit.
You know, one of the things that I even do to this day is, you know, I with all my credit cards, I've had the date at which my billing cycle cuts modified.
Yes.
So that all my bills.
What does that mean, just in layman's terms?
So let's say, you know, because I have a lot of credit cards. I think I have about 7 credit cards that I use for different things. and don't have a lot of credit cards if you're just going to go shopping for shoes.
Well,
but
this is an interesting subject for him. He hates credit cards.
I don't have a credit
canceled
card.
all of them.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that in a second.
I don't like owing money to anybody, so
You
I
can take advantage of that.
But what
like
if you
miles
pay
and
it off
travel
in
for
full?
free.
Yep.
It's okay.
I need to be able to have money to travel, so.
Well, you can sign up for a credit card, and it would cost you $125. You get 15,000 miles, then you add a little bit more, and then you have a free trip to Mexico.
Well, the big thing with credit cards, I would say,
I'll give it to you not to keep you hanging.
Thank
the
you.
big thing with credit cards that I say all the time is like, the limit on your credit card is not your money. So
It
just
isn't.
because
Don't
they
max
say
it out.
you got 5,000 or
Well, that's the thing.
10,000,
It's not my money, so I don't like touching it. I don't like to be spending it. I want to spend what I have, and if I don't have, then I don't deserve to have
But
it.
ironically, using a credit card and having a balance that you pay off and not using more than 60%
Helps
of
your
the
credit.
It's better for your credit score,
it
yeah.
actually helps
Yeah,
build your credit.
we're not even going to talk about my
But
credit
you know,
score.
most people, they don't know that when they get a $1,000 credit card or 5,000 or
Hello,
20,000,
ladies.
they would go and max it out.
Pitching
And
myself so well. You know? You want a man who can take care of himself.
wait, I actually want to bring another point that I learned through my own mistakes, and I would like people to know if they don't already, is that if you have a credit card, do not use more than 60% of that limit. Because when you go over 60 or 65, I'm not sure what the numbers are, you're the finance girl. When you go beyond that threshold, then your credit score starts to be a little bit...
So what I'll tell you is, I mean,
finicky.
your credit score is a little bit of an art and a science.
It
So
is,
there's
but
no
what it-
like, here's exactly what it entails. Obviously, there's something called debt service ratio, which means
Thank you.
how much of your available credit are you using, right? So if you've got 5,000 and you're using most of it, well, it shows that you're not as responsible with available money to you.
Right.
If you have 5,000 and you're only using 1, or you're going up to 3 and paying it off, then it shows, wow, I have this money available to me and I can show
But I don't need it.
restraint.
Right.
That's right. And so then your credit score goes
So
up.
when they offer you an increase on your limit, I would suggest if you have good restraint, what I do is I accept the limit because it increases the ratio without using it.
And again, the big caveat there is if you have restraint.
If
So
you have restraint,
I always
for
say
sure.
yes.
Yeah. Say yes to the choice.
Because I always, absolutely. Because, I mean, for me, even like, I like to have money available to me because, I don't know, maybe I can use it in a real estate deal,
Or new shoes, as you said.
Or in cryptocurrency.
No, not new shoes.
Not new shoes.
No, the point is not to necessarily take that money and then spend it because then I have to pay it back. But, if it allows me to use that money and make more money, then it's a bit of a different situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were talking about managing, like you're taking care of that part, but
Yeah.
like if you have too many houses that you're managing, like I want you to be able
Can
to.
there be too many?
I was just
no,
going to
well-
say there's no such thing.
No. Like I want, like a lot of people want to know that I'm priority. Like you got to take care of me. So, but if you're like your hands are everywhere.
What do you mean? Who says I'm?
Well,
Oh, I
well,
see.
meaning like I need you. Like you're telling me, Ron, I'm taking care of your house, right? Like your
Yeah.
rental, I'm taking care of everything. But you're taking care of many rentals. How do I know that you're going to be there for me when I call?
Well, it's
How
like,
do I know
it's
you're
like
gonna
a
be there for
realtor.
me?
A realtor is not exclusive to you. A realtor works with many other clients. As long as they dedicate and they do their due diligence to manage your property, let's just say managing a property takes on average, I don't know, an hour a week, 4
Can I
hours
be
a month,
totally
5
honest?
hours.
I
Yeah.
also hire people.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so
Yeah,
Like, I don't.
you
Are you
should
kidding?
have
I
a-
yeah,
do
that's what I'm saying.
myself,
So
like,
okay, gotcha. So you.
I gotta be here on the show.
So that
hanging out.
that is your business.
Having juice
so
and
having
coffee.
so
Yeah,
no, but that is also your business. Meaning you're not just like a one lady show. There's
Absolutely not.
people who work for you and they're kind of running around.
And
you're
there's
giving them
also
percentages.
lots of different strategies. One of the ones that's my favorite, and I hope we don't jump down too far down a technical hole.
Ooh, I like technical stuff.
Okay, cool. We'll kind of balance between the
Yeah,
two.
right now.
Is sure you can write it down as we go. Is taking your RSP money. So hopefully people are putting money away for their retirement. Okay, just stashing away at least little bits for
What about us
when
who
we get
don't?
older. Oh, we're gonna have a big discussion. But
Okay.
the government's not going to be funding our futures.
No
right?
kidding.
And we're going to be, you got your turmeric collagen juice. You're going to be living to 100 and looking gorgeous. I don't think you're going to be working forever, right? And
No.
so
Well, doing what I love forever.
doing what you love forever.
And that's what I call work, so to me it's interchangeable.
For
But
sure,
I
but there
understand
will
what you
come a point where maybe, you want to travel more. Maybe you want to take it easier and hang out with your kids and your grandkids. There's that, let's be honest, that happens in our lives, and we need to be financially
mean. We want to slow
prepared.
down.
Yeah, you'll want to slow down.
Of course.
And so, one of the strategies that's actually my personal favorite with investing is taking your RSP money and investing it in mortgages. Now, this is not something that, our big 5 banks allow us to do. So, they used to, they don't anymore. So I do it through smaller banks. No, there's no sneaky. None of this is under the table. None of this is illegal.
So you just have to go through banks that do allow it.
So the banks that are smaller do allow that, and essentially I then become a private lender. So I then give the money inside my RSP. So, everybody knows in your RSP you can buy a GIC or a stock or a mutual fund.
Not everybody knows that, FYI.
Okay. Let me backtrack.
Yes.
Any bank that you walk into and say, what are my options for my RSP? They will say, you can put it in a GIC, you can put it in a stock, you can put it in a mutual fund.
Okay.
Yeah, like the banks will tell you that. I mean, you've heard of those before?
Yeah, but again, for somebody who hasn't been,
so somebody
haven't been dealing with RSPs, haven't been.
That's fine. If you've got money and you're investing, those are like the most generic ones that any bank's going to offer you.
Okay.
And most of them are going to be in sort of the range of lower returns.
Lower meaning like 1%?
Yeah, so I mean, GICs, if you get to 2%, you're lucky.
Yeah.
And that's fair.
1 to 2.
Again, I'm sitting here, telling you what I'm hearing from the banks. I'm not a financial advisor or any of those things, but they're generally in the lower returns area. Now, with your RSPs, you can actually be a private lender. So it's as if you're a bank on either a first or a second mortgage for somebody else. Okay, now it's very, very typical in a second mortgage position. So sometimes, if someone's going through a little bit of financial hardship, or
What do you mean by second mortgage position? So you already have one mortgage?
So you may already have one mortgage, and then you can add a second one afterwards.
Okay.
So it's very common in tough financial situations. So let's say somebody is, if it's a private mortgage, if there's a lot of equity in the house, so they've been paying their mortgage for a while, and the mortgage is much smaller than it used to be. What's left over is called the equity. So the positive side. Also, if they bought the property 10 years ago and the value has gone up, well, that creates equity as well.
That's right.
So sometimes there's a lot of value in the house, and so then for you as a private investor, or for me as a private investor, if they're in a situation where they need some money for a short period of time, I'm willing to put on a second mortgage. Now, let me give you an example, because this feels a little bit abstract. I know it's definitely not conventional. So there's...
But it's all legal?
100% legal.
It's just more creative.
It's above board, totally. The CRA knows what I'm doing. We're friends. It's all good.
Love it. Okay.
I'm just saying this is something that's...
You're opening our eyes onto a lot of things that are possible for people that don't know the...
Exactly.
I want to know how to make money. That's what I want to know. I want to know.
I think you're drifting away when you're talking about second mortgages.
Well, no,
she was about to give us an example.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
We will get to making more.
Oh, I apologize. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm just confused about this whole thing. So
it's okay. No, and you're asking really good questions, so I'm glad that you're here. So, there was a family that a mortgage broker reached out to me and said, okay, this was June timeframe. And the reason why that's important is because they were in their early 30s, a husband and wife. They had just had their first baby.
Yeah.
So she was a teacher. So that whole school year from September till June, she was on maternity leave.
Okay.
And
very common for a lot of couples.
Very common, yeah. So she had just had their first child, or they had their first child in August, just before the school year started. Now, 2 months after the baby was born, unfortunately, the husband lost his job. Okay, so this happened. So between October and June, until he got a new job, they racked up $40,000 of credit card debt. Okay, they maintained their mortgage every single month. They made their payments, but they still had to live. They had a lot of expenses. They had to cover the mortgage, new baby.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
real. That's a real life situation.
This is a very real situation, and they had that credit card was at 25% interest. Now they had a lot of equity in their property. Okay. They had bought quite a few years ago, but because he wasn't working and because she was on maternity leave,
she wasn't qualified for a second.
They couldn't qualify for a home equity line of credit. So if you go to the bank and say, hey, I have equity, can you help me tap into it? They say, sure, give me your pay stubs to prove you can pay us back.
But I just lost my job.
But he had lost his job and she was on maternity leave. So they had a lot of equity, but they couldn't access it. Now, I also knew in a year, so the June following, their mortgage was up for renewal. So if I did a second mortgage just for a short period of time for that 1 year duration, they, in fact, in a year from now, there was a lot of equity. They can combine the first and second mortgage and pay me back.
Wow. And what would they gain from that?
So here's what happened. So I actually lent them $50,000 from inside my RSPs. Okay, so this is all, kosher and inside my RSPs. And with that, they took $40,000 and paid off all their credit card debt. Okay, so that 25% interest credit card debt is gone.
Gone.
The wife was really so concerned about all the payments that she actually asked me if they could prepay me the interest for the year. So on that $50,000, I was charging 15% interest.
Okay.
So they actually paid me on day one $7,500, which is the full interest for the year. So that means for a year they don't have to make any payments,
Okay.
which gives them time to recoup and get back to things. And then they had, a couple $1,000 at the point of time that I did this with them. He had just gotten a job again, so we knew how money was coming. And I knew a few months later she'd be back at work.
Yeah.
But they were struggling every month and paying 25% interest, and now they don't have to make a payment for a full year, and the
they only
interest is
paid
15.
That's great.
So for them,
Gotcha.
it's a huge improvement. And if they went to a regular bank, the bank would say, no, I'm not lending you any money.
Banks are very conservative.
They're very
So
conservative.
this is a situation for people who had a house and they had equity. What about us, or in your case, you're not a homeowner.
I'm not a homeowner.
You just want to learn how to make money. Can we go back to that?
Well, yeah, I want to be able to, okay, so
You
right
don't
now,
have equity.
I'm doing like,
Yeah.
well, things happen in life. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's the thing. I own property in New York, right?
Oh, yeah?
With my ex-wife.
Right.
Things happen in life, I had to kind of come back and spend money on this, and all of a sudden extra bills, and you're back home, and then you need an office, right? Like, things just happen, and I want to be able to make that extra money.
Of course.
I'm used to working like the 9 to 5 and doing all my stuff on the side, but 9 to 5 doesn't pay that much the way it used to pay. Like, I deal with mostly nonprofit organizations.
Right. So in your field, it wouldn't be
50, 60 tops, right?
Yeah.
I want to be able to make more money.
Right.
But I still, have other abilities. Like, again, I tutor, right? I have some business sense, maybe not investing sense the way you guys have. Creative mind to be able to offer other services. I want to be able to use my knowledge and to be able to make money off of it. But because I'm so much about the creative as opposed to the business, I'm not really making enough, and I'm spending way.
So you're caught in that.
I'm spending a lot more time creating as opposed to bringing in cash flow.
Okay, so let me pause you right here, because you said something really awesome that I was excited to hear you say, is that you're doing some tutoring.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so you're doing, is it one-on-one tutoring?
One-on-one or group, it depends on what it is.
Okay, so this is exactly like an opportunity. So, if you're doing one student, I don't know how much it is an hour, but even if you lowered the rate and now you had 3 students,
Right.
Yeah.
well, now you're making money from 3 different individuals.
Right.
Right?
It's hard to get the people, though. That's the idea behind it.
Look,
And
I'm
plus
not
people
going
are
to say
being
that
tutored,
there's
nobody wants to do in the summer. Kids want to go party, so now you have 2 months where you're not making money. So for those 2 months, I have to figure out.
But there's people who do want to get tutored. And
Right. So
maybe
that's the
adults,
now I need.
maybe not kids.
Right. So now I need, and which I do, which now I need to invest in turning into a real business.
But do
And
you
I
need
the
the
money to
question
be
is,
able to
do you
invest?
need to invest if you're providing a service in your tutor? Sorry, there's
No,
like
no,
a
that's
exchange
okay.
here.
No, but how do you get like the students, right?
Do
How
you
do you
need to
get them?
invest, or could you just put up a simple web page and saying, here I am,
Have
this
it.
is what I do,
Yeah.
and
Could
just
you be
get.
could you build a relationship with the guidance counselor and find out who's having issues? This isn't,
Yeah.
I don't have the magic bullet
yeah.
answer to this specific one, but
Mhm.
the questions that I think
Could
we
you be
should
more
be
creative in
asking
finding
ourselves
avenues?
is, what am I really good at? What do I like to do?
Mhm.
How can I help
And
others?
how do I help other people with that skill and get compensated for it?
I always want to bring somebody, and this is like one of the reasons, of course, I have Mira, somebody who's different from me. Like, I can do one aspect where I'm really good at, and they bring in what they're good at, and we have a partnership. So they get, because at the end of the day, I can't do everything, and that's the problem. I wear all these hats on a regular basis, so I'm overworked.
And then they get sweaty.
Right? Yes, it's true. Everything gets sweaty that I wear. But no, like I tend to, not, rather than having like a focus, like you have a focus.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're doing. Like this is what I'm offering. Like you're the money, that's all I need from you, and I can.
And in
I
your
can
case,
run
you
with
feel
it.
like it's more diverse.
Like I'm doing
it's less-
I'm doing everything, and I don't have the money to invest. And once I start investing the money, I'm not making any money because I start to put all my money in terms of advertising and getting students.
But again, it goes back to mindset.
I
like
would,
you
and I would
mentioned.
also, start. Part of it's mindset, and part of it is starting simply. If could you house sit for your neighbor when they go on vacation? Can you walk the dogs next door? Like, and I'm not suggesting that
Did you drive an Uber?
drive an Uber, like whatever.
Yeah,
And
but I'm saying
getting-
something more realistic. Like not like these little things. Not like driving an Uber or like babysitting. We're talking
I
like
see what you mean.
jobs.
Related to your
things
field.
that I can really do, right? Because in reality, like I could become a cab driver, 9 to 5, make money. Like it's great, but it's not something I want to do.
Right.
I want to be able to utilize the skills that I already have.
Well, and I think that's where if you can't necessarily figure it out
Mhm.
on your own, maybe sitting together with some of your your closest friend or your family and really brainstorming around what that could look like. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that you don't have to work hard. You know, I've had to work hard. I'm sure you've worked hard, and you know, you have to consistently save money. And so, you know, when you get a paycheck, say to yourself, how much money do I want to save? What's my savings goal? Put that aside and figure out how to make do with everything else.
Can I also make a point about working hard? Is alongside with working hard, two things come to mind that I've seen that differentiate the people who actually make money and become successful at what they do and bringing their passion to fruition, and the ones who continue to struggle, is consistency and losing the fear and just putting yourself out there, being in people's faces, and having these two qualities, like consistently putting out content, value for other people without expecting to get anything back. So kind of like what Gary Vaynerchuk says, and I keep repeating it, like jab, 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 and only then right hook, meaning give, 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 and only then ask. So being that, and also the other thing is putting yourself out there. So constantly advertising yourself, being a walking.
I'm doing exactly that.
Are you?
Oh yeah, I'm doing exactly that. I think
I think it's different when you know, you're trying to be an entrepreneur versus I just need to turn on another stream of income. Right. So like, you know, if you want to become an influencer or a brand, and like that requires a very different kind of, in my opinion, investment in terms of what you're saying, like giving content and creating that kind of stuff, you know.
Versus
if you're good at writing,
right,
how do you be a copywriter for somebody? Right? It's not about I'm creating stuff for free, because there's stuff where you do the work and you get paid.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and so the
That's
hard.
a good
Well,
distinction.
but again,
That's a
with
good
film
distinction.
stuff, I always charge. I never like just do for free. That's my business. Bring a specific
But I
craft.
think for Ron, it is actually the former, not the latter. I think he is wearing a lot of hats. He's great at many things, and it's figuring out how to make money off of that, as opposed to like, here's one skill that I'm good at, and I want to get paid for that one skill.
Yeah, the problem is I don't have that one skill.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I have. Like, that's
You
I
got to
have,
work on your skills.
Yeah,
So
I have a
your
lot of
brand,
different
your
skills,
brand,
and I can utilize, like when I worked for like the youth center, and they're like, you know, and I played every sport with the kids and taught every class they had, and they're like you can do everything we want here. Like, why do we need to bring somebody else? I'm like, so pay me more. And they're like, yeah, that's a problem. And I'm like, I'm not understanding. Like, I'm giving you so
But
much
part
more
of
than
it
just
is
that
also
person.
then, and you know, I know it can get a little bit tricky, but then like, what am I worth? You know,
Right.
and if they're not willing to pay you what you're worth, find a job somewhere else.
That's the problem. It's not that easy today. I mean, that's the
So
that's the
what's
reality that I'm hitting a wall like daily. You know, like I work for, you know, like after Sunday school, right?
Yeah.
And you know, when I first got the job, they're like, oh, if you do this and this for us, you know, we'll offer you more hours. And then, okay, that's fantastic, and I'm giving a lot more of myself, and then I'm noticing, wait, I've been there for a year and a half, and I'm
So
not
it's
getting
not the
more
right
hours.
fit. It's not the right
Then-
fit.
Well,
Yeah,
I love the
that's
job, but you
yeah.
see, that's the problem.
But
I
that's
love the
the point.
job.
So
I
if-
fall in love with like teaching, and like I love the kids, and I love the atmosphere.
So then, really, like the decision is your own.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
It's a struggle that I'm hearing.
That's it. No more Jewish kids.
No, it's not about no more Jewish kids.
No.
It's about, you know, you have to find the balance,
Yeah.
and maybe what you do is something else that pays you the money, and then you volunteer with Jewish kids. If
Right.
that's what you want.
Right.
Right.
And then
Because
your
at the
heart
end
is
of the
content
day,
and your pocket is full with what you.
you've got to have both.
I had a question before, and I wanted to ask,
of course.
relating to also to the job force. We talked about it in pre-production. Today, I noticed that a lot of people that are making serious dough are people who have like professions like a plumber, electrician. It's no longer just the, you know, like the teachers. Like it's people who have other values.
Trade
Yeah,
skills.
trade skills.
Right.
Are you noticing something like a little bit of a shift where trade skills are getting more reputation than they ever used to?
I'm definitely not qualified to comment on that.
I was wondering, because the reason I'm saying, like, because I'm noticing.
I'm
noticing
not an
what,
employee. I'm not a career coach.
Well, no, I'm noticing that some plumbers are making ridiculous money today. They're charging an arm and a leg, you know, for something because everybody needs it.
Trend, to be honest.
You haven't noticed? Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
I've heard, but here's the thing, like, you know, if it's about what the market's looking for.
Right.
Right? So, you know, maybe that's something else for you to consider when
So I
you're
was
trying
thinking,
to
like,
make more
should I
money.
maybe like find something like that that's trade, learn it, and that's going to be my source
Well,
of
now
income?
it's turning a little bit more into like a personal, like.
Oh no, but it's
conversation.
not just about me. I'm asking on a regular basis. Like, a lot of people went to school for something, and then they come out and they just can't find themselves, and you know they're looking to see where they can make money, So I wanted to know whether a trade would be something that people should be
Possibly.
looking into.
But it's
or-
got to be your right fit. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You know, just because X thing makes X dollar doesn't mean it's a good fit for you, your personality, your skills, the things you like to do.
Right.
You know, I mean.
So you go back always to just finding what's the right fit for your personality,
what is the right
for
fit
your
for
skills.
you? The things that you
For what
love
drives
to
you.
do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And figure out then, like in the tutoring example, like how can you offer it on a greater scale? You know,
Right.
could you create a tutoring video and offer it to every kid in the classroom for $5 instead of, you know, and the, like the, you know, you sit in the back of the class and you create this video or whatever the case may be, and it's $5 per every student versus you sitting for $25 and I have no idea how much you're making. But I'm just saying, like, how can you start to get creative? How can you start to think about it differently? How can you create scale? And there are ways out there. There really are for everybody.
We're now tapping into scaling a business, which is a very interesting topic. But I think we're kind of diversing away from what you came here to talk about, which is
a little bit, but
money
that's
and
okay,
finances.
right?
Can we go back to
Well, it
that?
has a lot to do with it. It has a lot to do
No,
with
that's okay. That's okay. We can definitely kind of go back down that.
So what would be your going back to what you came here to talk about? What would be your suggestions for anybody who's just starting out and wanting to make more money and in your specialty, which is real estate?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing is, like I said, make sure you know where you really stand. Because I think, unfortunately, most people don't know where they truly stand. And once you know where you stand, then you have to figure out what's your next goal. You know, is your goal to get rid of your debt? Is your goal to build enough of a savings so that you can buy your own home, right? And
I think
then
they're all great goals. They kind of go one after
they
the
all
other.
kind of go
First,
one
get
after
rid
the
of
other.
that,
First, you got to get rid of that debt because it's going to swallow you whole. With the crazy interest rates that are out there, like, you want to get rid of that debt first thing.
Mhm.
Where do you learn all this? Like, because in school I didn't learn any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, do you have to attend some sort of a seminar like you did, or is there something I can read online? Like, I'd like to know more about this because in reality, I'm having a conversation with you ladies, and I'm just getting all the information. I'm trying to.
Well,
I can offer my 2 cents, not being a professional in the field.
Sure, but I was just going to say,
Yeah.
I mean, this is what my passion, my purpose is. I have a very active YouTube channel. It's called Leemore, and every week I put out videos.
That's
and when
amazing.
people, and it's 100% free, won't cost you anything. And, you know, when people have questions, they post them in the comments below, and I answer them as well as
Love it. So you're putting a lot of value out
create
there.
new
No, but
content.
I want to learn. Like, I want to learn really. Like, I want to delve into it. Like, I want to be able
So
to.
you start by watching videos. For example, the way I learned is I started just looking for answers online, and I had conversations with friends.
I don't even know what questions to ask. That's
Okay,
my
so I
problem.
had conversations with friends. I would go to a friend of mine who was in real estate, and I would just, like, we have a night in with a few friends, and we would start talking, like, well, how do you do this, and, like, tell me about the market, like, where do I start? If I don't have specific questions, because I didn't at the time, I was like, where do I start?
You could read a book.
I don't have a regular stream of income. I'm an entrepreneur. Like, where does a person like me start working at? Or you can read a book. There's so many different ways.
I'd like to take. Let's just say I'd like to take a course.
Oh, okay.
Are there specific courses that are not too expensive that are worthwhile?
I bet there's a lot of stuff
Because you
online.
said you spent $20,000.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's a totally different story because, you know, I was spent a lot of money because it's a field where you can make a lot of money.
Right.
And within
You're
a couple
investing
of
in yourself. Yeah.
yeah, and within a couple of deals, I mean, I more than paid
Right.
myself back, and so I recognize that as sort of the input versus the output.
Okay.
You know,
So you're smart to be able to know that, and also you had the means to pay for the courses.
absolutely. I mean,
Right.
but how did I have the means? Is because I was saving every time I got a paycheck. I put a little money aside, like everybody should be doing,
Yeah.
right? And I know it's not easy, and you know, life is expensive, and you know, we got to have the latest iPhone, and we got to have the fastest internet, and
What
things
percentage
do
of your
add up.
income do you recommend to put aside for saving? Just to be realistic. Let's just say people in their realistic situations
Yeah.
have a stream of income, but they're also managing their debts. They also have a mortgage, and they also have payments like on their car, cell phone, 407, what have you. What percentage of that do you put away instead of putting everything towards your credit card? Or do you?
Well, so I think that's a really big question, and I'm going to try to answer it, but it really depends on where you're at.
I know
Like,
there's no
golden answer. Like, if
answer,
you
yeah.
are in a place where you have $30,000 of credit card debt and
Yeah.
it's at 19% interest, I mean, I would say put aside enough so you've got an emergency fund so that if something, like for a couple, you know, maybe even a few $1,000s, so that if something else terrible happens, you know, you don't have to go further into debt. But then at that point, stop.
Okay.
All you got to do is get rid of that debt.
Okay.
Now, if you're in a place where, it's also different if you're 25 or if you're 35, if you have a mortgage, if you don't have a mortgage. If you're looking sort of for a rule of thumb, I would say at the minimum, try to save 10%.
10%.
But it depends on your goal. If you are aspiring to buy your first home, well, you're going to need a significant amount, and that goal should fuel you. And you should say, my gosh, I want to buy a home that's in Toronto. It's going to cost me $700,000. Here's what I need from a down payment standpoint. How much do I have? And then be excited to say, you know what, instead of me and my husband or my boyfriend or whoever going out for dinner and spending $150 on wine and all that fancy stuff, like, can we make dinner and take that money and put it in our account because there's something else that we want? So
that requires a lot of discipline and a lot of I wouldn't say knowledge, but just the skills to be able to have a very clear and honest look at your finances. Maybe map it out on a calendar,
and that's why I started with step
like
one
a
is
physical
like
jar, like a little piggy jar. There's like a little bit of physical money goes into that.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer bank accounts personally.
Well, a lot of times when it's not cash and it's bank accounts, like numbers, you don't see the money because it's a transaction. It's hard to keep track of it. Some people just need physical, like, here's a box, here's cash. I'm just going to put it in there and not touch it. But like you said, for many people, cards do work. I love what you mentioned about being fueled by something, and it's kind of separate from finances or money.
And it's also right where we started initially in this conversation, and I can't tell you enough how much, like, my goal is for people to feel financially fabulous because I want them to feel great about their money and great about their life. None of this is about the goal is to have a bank account with X dollars for that sake.
Right.
It's about
live your life.
Live your life. Do you want to own a home? Is it important for you to eat organic? And if that's important, great. Maybe you don't do as many restaurants, or if it's important for you.
Meal prep and you just say,
I mean, I get my nails done every couple of weeks. That's something that I love.
On your list.
I will spend money on probably for the rest of my life.
I'm looking at my naked nails.
Both of you guys, but I'm saying that's a priority for me. I don't necessarily buy a new purse every season because I could use the same one over and over again. What's a priority for me is I like to get my nails done. So in life, for every single one of us, and there's no judgment, but what's important for you, and that's where you allocate your money. And not everything can be important. You can't also need to drive a nice car and go to restaurants. Like, at the end of the day, everybody has to decide. There's, we're going to try to make more money through multiple streams of income and extra tutoring and, all these other things and maybe get to real estate. But at the end of the day, let's take what we have, let's allocate it towards what's most important to you so you can live the life that you really want to live. That's what it really comes down to. I love this point,
and I think it comes down to one simple thing. It's not simple. It's actually the hardest thing, in my opinion, is to know yourself. Because when you take a hard and close look at yourself, and you're completely honest at how you are as a person, and you start making a list maybe of the essential things that I need in my life to be happy, what makes me happy? A lot of people might not ask this question, but I think it's so important to understand who you are as a person, what wakes you up in the morning and gets you out of bed, what drives you, and then take that core and say, well, what do I need to live like this? What can I go without, but what do I absolutely need? Like, if I absolutely need to drink juice every day and have the produce.
If you need a $13, bottle of juice, that's fine.
That's fine. If you can make it at home like I do, that's another way of doing it, right? But I feel like going back to what fuels you, one thing that I've done that worked for me that might work for a lot of our viewers is just creating a vision board where you physically put images of the things that you want to accomplish, or you want to do, or you want to be, or you want to travel to in this particular year. So, like, we're not looking 5 years out, we're looking 1 year. Where do I want to go? What do I want to be? What do I want to accomplish in my personal, career life, health-wise? You make a list in all the different columns, you put images, and then you realize, oh wow, I want to go to Argentina in December, or I had a trip to Peru. This is the money that I need to work towards, and it's going to motivate you.
And I bet you there were things that you didn't do because you were saving money for Peru.
There were some things that I didn't do, and then there were other things that I splurged on because I was able to.
Yeah, and that's fine.
It's all about balancing it all out. But for me, it was really, really important to have the visual that I know I'm working towards this. Because if somebody told me, just start working really hard, start putting away money, meanwhile I wake up understanding I have debt and I have my line of credit and I have my mortgage, it's hard to get motivated. Like, sometimes motivation is not reliable. But if you have this picture in front of you, like, here's Machu Picchu, here's Argentina, here's my upcoming book, here's like my, whatever it is that drives you, that gives you that, okay, fine, I'm gonna do this, put it out there in vision, like actual visual things, and then in my opinion, it's going to be a fantastic drive to start getting your fire out of your butt, so you can start working hard and hustling and figuring things out.
No, I do that often. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I build everything I do. Like, here's my workout routine. Like, you know, till every little thing that I want to do.
Push-ups, squats, planks.
Yes.
Brazilian butt lift.
Yes, that's the one. But it comes with Brazilian wax. So once I get that, then I'll do the Brazilian butt lifts. Is that what you said?
The BBB.
No, I don't do any of that stuff. No, but like I always prepare myself, but something always goes awry. That's the major problem.
Because life happens, and that's where you have to always be flexible for that. Because life.
That's why but I want to learn how to be able to like balance myself. I want to be able to learn, like, you know, if this thing happens, what are my other options? Like,
it comes with a little bit of, and I'm not, this isn't against you, but it becomes a self-discipline.
Yeah.
Right? Because
that's where it comes to discipline.
Every single person who has any form of income has a limit and a cap.
Right.
And, you know, it's up to each of us to say, here's how much I make, here's an essential, and part of the essential should be getting rid of debt, and part of the essential, once you've gotten rid of your debt, is to save for your future. Or save for the thing that you really want to do. And, you know, I mean, I don't mean to be mean or harsh, but that's what it is. And if you're not happy with how much, if
you're not
well,
harsh.
I don't mean to attack.
So mean and harsh.
I'm not trying to attack you.
In
this okay, guys, come on.
I don't feel attacked.
No, I totally.
No, but
I know
at the end of the day, this is how much money you make. You got to allocate it. Okay. If you're not happy with how much you make, get off your butt, make another stream of income.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of extra work. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Right.
And hopefully there's still time on top for your passions and other things, but, you know, like, this is the reality that we have. And, you know, most people are not even looking at their finances, and when you take a look, acknowledge where you are, acknowledge where you want to get to, and it's about taking small steps, and it doesn't matter who you are or where you are. You know, you could have a lot of debt or a lot of savings, and you could have a goal that's bigger, and you just got to start working towards it.
I agree, and I think I'm speaking to myself primarily when I say this, because I need more of all of those, more discipline. I mean, everybody's on this journey to improve, but I feel like when I make excuses that I don't have the time, it's just an excuse, because there are 24 hours in a day, and I can sleep 1 hour less, I can watch less Netflix, I can...
It's trade-off. It's all about trade-off.
It's all about what you're willing to trade off for your goal. And if your goal is your passion and your fuel, write it in front of you, and then that's going to be your trade-off. It's not going to be a trade-off so much as it's going to be your motivation to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a trade-off, right? If we're being black and white, it is a trade-off, right? So, you know, I really want to achieve that goal, so I'm not going to watch 2 hours of Netflix. Or, you know, I really want to make that extra money.
So that's
where
discipline and consistency comes in. So
all of it together.
Being disciplined, yeah.
So if we can conclude this, if you have something to offer people, maybe for them to check out your YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
For them to know how to find out more information, how is it that, you know, people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Well, I mean, again, lots of free content on my YouTube channel, Limor. That's Limor. I have a website, limor.money, where I post articles and
.money?
Limor.money, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, .money. And you know, if you've got questions about real estate, you're ready to get involved. You know, I mean, we talked about rent-to-owns and a little bit around RSPs. If you've got questions, like, I'm out there to teach, and
I've got questions for you later.
You can absolutely reach out. You know, Limor.money has a contact form. You can reach out to me. I'm Limor on all social media. I'm easy to find, and you know, I just want you to be a little bit less afraid of your finances and know that a really fabulous life is waiting for you, and it's for you to really embody it. And yeah, there's a little bit of trade-offs, but you'll find that there's some really great, positive, exciting things that are worth it. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, this was a scary interview today, because I walked into...
I'm not that
scary.
Well,
no, it's myself. I walked into this one. I really wanted to learn, so that
I hope
really
you got something out of it.
I got a lot of it. That definitely I have to do a lot of soul searching in terms of what I'm doing with my life. Yeah. Though I have all these dreams and aspirations that I want to do, and as I said, like, I want to utilize the skills that I already have, but I always feel like I'm missing something. And
there's a small disconnect
right.
with the how.
It's not just the how. It's the, again, something is missing. Okay. Something is missing. I got to figure out what's missing. Maybe I've been doing it all.
Hopefully, this is going to help figure that out. Or
yeah. So I'd love to check you out. And you said that anybody that goes on your YouTube channel, when you're talking, they can ask a question.
You can ask questions below. I mean, on Limor.money, there's a contact form. They can always send me emails. Mm-hmm. They go directly to me. So
And
I'm very easily.
You mentioned about the real estate forum. Is that what it's called? The real estate event that's happening in the city?
Oh, I'm just an attendee. Like.
Oh, just an attendee.
What's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
name of
yeah.
the event?
I think it's a real estate expo, but I'm by no means promoting it. I'm just going to be there in the audience to learn because
Cool.
I'm always learning.
So someone like me would definitely benefit from it, even though, let's just say right now I don't have money to invest.
Mhm.
Would I benefit from spending money to go and learning, or you think maybe I should make the money first?
I really can't speak to the content of that event. I mean, I don't.
An event like it. Forget the event itself, like the idea.
I think if your
If it's
goal,
the thing you want to learn,
Yeah.
then spend a little time. Maybe it's a little bit of money, but there's also a lot of like free meetups. You know,
Right.
if finances are really tight, you know, start with where you're at. What's the next step for you?
Not being afraid of money. That's
There you
the start. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in.
thank you so much for
Limor,
watching
really,
us.
really appreciate you
Thanks
having
for
me here.
having
And also, again, our pleasure. Check her out, Limor, without an E, so LIMOR.money.
Money, 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 money.
And
don't
if you have
be
any
afraid of
questions,
it.
yeah, don't be afraid of it. Get in touch with her, and hopefully she'll be able to help you out. So thank you again for coming.
Awesome.
Mira, so nice to have you back.
It's nice to be back.
I kind of missed you. I needed that girl presence around me, so I really appreciate it. Although,
Thank you.
hi Sean, thank you very much for covering. For everybody else, guys, let's tune in next week. We have another person by the name of Limor. Limor Twena. Yeah, we have two Limor. So if you thought your name was odd, we have another Limor Twena is going to be joining us next week. It's going to be an amazing show. She is somebody who had cancer and was able to overcome it.
That's incredible.
And has aggressive positivity. I think I'm saying it properly.
Aggressive positivity. I
Aggressive
love that.
positivity, and she's going to be
a
coming
really
out,
great
and
subject.
hopefully she'll be able to sing for us. She's an amazing singer and just an inspiration. So
Okay, cool.
thank you everybody for tuning in. Sorry, Limor, I kind of took a little bit
It's all
over
good.
for that. Really appreciate it, guys. Tune in next week for more Prickly Pear Show, and have yourself a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, guys. Bye.